the end of the year. They're handing out awards. I get an email from the school, like, your daughter's getting an award. The assembly's at 9:30 in the morning. And I was there. Wow. I got to be there. And there's something special about those memories that you get to keep. And it makes me so emotional, because back when I was working in the gym, I had to ask somebody, can I go to this? Am I allowed? And there were times when it would be, no, somebody else already has the day off. And, the answer is no.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Pretty Focus podcast. Today is going to be a fun one. We're with one of our grads, Brittany Jarneau. Not only did she graduate from our photography course, but she's also graduate from our recipe development course. And we're going to get to know Brittany, who she is, what she offers, and just hear her story, because that's why you guys love these grad interviews, is because you get to hear people's stories. And I love her story, and we've already been crying, but even before we even hit record, and even as I was going through, Brittany, your answers to your questions, I was already getting just like a little teary-eyed and emotional, because when I read through it, I'm like, yeah, that is why we created Pretty Focus, is for people like you. Like that's why we exist. And so I would love it if you could just tell us, like, pre-Pretty Focus, before Pretty Focus ever entered into the picture for you, what were you doing?
So before Pretty Focused, or before I even had like any knowledge of his existence, I worked in the fitness industry, and it is a tough one. It's a tough place to be. The hours are long. The work is often, I worked for multiple different small businesses under a large umbrella company. And then in order to kind of consolidate and find a space for myself that I could work from home, I thought that would be the solution. I transferred to working with a consulting company who was essentially helping small gyms, like boutique fitness studios, and not the big guys, not the like 24-hour places, but just the small, like, hey, I'm Sally Joe and I love fitness, so I opened this gym. So, COVID hit the fitness industry really hard, and a lot of places closed, and a lot of places were fighting to stay open, and figuring out how to pivot in such a crazy time.
Oh yeah.
So that was what I thought was the solution. And I did stay home, but the work, I was easily working 10-hour days. And it was brutal. And then I got pregnant. So 10-hour days with a newborn was not going to work. I tried. And I was dropping the ball, and it was just impossible to be up 3, 4, 6 times in the night and then go to work. My hours got changed when I went back. So I live on the West Coast, and my whole caseload when I came back had changed from West Coast to East Coast, meaning I had to start my day at 5 a.m.
No way.
It was a hard pass.
That's like your last feeding of the, like, before sunrise, right? And you're like, might as well stay up.
Right. So it was really rough. My son's 2 now, and he just started sleeping through the night. So it was rough. So I got a contact from HR, and I had made a mistake. And as somebody does when they're super tired like that and trying to fight through a 10-hour day. And I got off the conference call, and I called my husband, and I said, I can't do this. I can't do this. I feel like I am just failing. And I burst into tears, and God bless that man. He was like, just quit. This isn't worth it. I'll just work some overtime. I'll work a little more.
Wow.
But
amazing.
yeah, it just,
that's amazing.
he is an incredible man, and I'm so grateful. So I stopped working, and then we were having to make some decisions about finances, and our daughter was in private Christian school. Yeah. And it was, we were looking at the tuition as one of our biggest bills, and it was like, do we keep her here? And I was like, I don't know. And I had a conversation with my mom, and she was like, remember that photography class I was talking about? My mom had been trying to get me to do this for like over a year. And wow. I just think that you would be so good at it. I think you would have so much fun. You could stay home with the kids. I was like, there's no way I could do that. I'm not me. Like that total, like, oh, I could, that's for other people. Like that's for like, I don't know, like
just not you, people, right?
Like just, that's not me. Like I couldn't do that. And so she ended up gifting me the recipe development course. Wow. I've always been, I love cooking. I've always been in the kitchen, cooking, baking, you name it. I will figure out how to do it. Like love having a good dinner party, love to entertain. That's always been my shtick. And before I was in fitness, I owned a meal prep company, and that's how I
gosh.
Fitness. Yeah. Okay. So I already really knew food well. Yeah. And she knew that. So she was like, just try it. So I did. And then I put out my portfolio for recipe development, and half of my portfolio sold within 10 minutes. And then the next day, the person who had bought those recipes was like, I looked over them. I loved them so much. This is so great. And it's going to save me so, it was another photographer. She was like, it's going to save me so much time. I'd like the rest of it, please.
Stop it.
She bought my whole portfolio.
Wow.
In 2 days.
And what's going through your mind at this point?
I was like, I literally went from, I don't know, we'll see if this will work. I don't know. Like maybe at the worst, like I learned a new skill and it was fun. I had fun. And then I was like, I woke up, my husband and I were at a hotel. It was a Christmas party for his work. He's a firefighter. And so every year the union puts on a big Christmas party. Yeah. And so we'd gotten a hotel room and a sitter, and I literally rolled over and I shook him awake. I was like, babe, we just made like $1,000.
And he's like,
that was like just insane. Like it would have taken me like,
oh my gosh.
I had no idea that was even possible.
Wow. In one, like
in a weekend.
In a weekend. Mm-hmm. What was his reaction?
He goes, get out of here. Really? I was like, let's go have breakfast because there's money in my PayPal.
Oh my gosh. And like, so you're excited. You're like, this is real. Cause people like, I just put in like Google is pretty focused. And the two things that popped up was like legit and like legitimate.
Yeah.
Because I think honestly, when you hear work from home,
right.
We have been burned enough.
Well, I think that there's a lot of companies that prey on moms and women wanting to stay home. Like here in the US, like the infrastructure does not exist to support families with small children. We just don't have it. We don't have maternity leave. We don't have a lot of, now I live in California, so there's a lot of extra things that are just state-based, but like across the country, we just don't have it. When I had my daughter, we lived in Hawaii, and I just was out of luck.
Wow.
Yeah. So
what was your maternity leave? 6 weeks?
I had 6 weeks that my job was protected, and I couldn't be fired, but I didn't make any money.
Right.
I just lost income for that time and had to go back right away.
Yeah.
It was wild. So, I mean, yeah, women have been burned.
So, I've been burned. Like I sold Beachbody shakes.
Yeah. Like, buy this kit. You're going to like, look at this person. They make $1 million a month.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Like, I don't need $1 million a month. I could do with like a couple $1,000s a month.
Yeah. Right. That's not what I need.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and
all
then
you have
it's
to
just
do.
like, oh gosh, there's nothing. Actually, I'm paying to annoy my friends.
Right. Exactly. Right. Because now you're like, all I have to do is build my downline and find people. And, you know, because the 21-day fix was really big whenever I was in it. And that was like a new program. And so it was like doing all these.
I did the same thing.
You did?
I was the Beachbody coach also. And I was like, yeah, I love to work out. I mean,
I don't know about you, but like, I ended up in debt because you have to keep buying the shakes. And like, I made some money.
Yeah. But it was like enough to buy more shakes.
It was enough to buy more shakes. And I still ended up like, by the time it was all said and done, like, you know, $400 in debt actually. Because I had to keep buying the shakes. So I just put the shakes on the credit card because we didn't necessarily have the cash for them. Like that's how you do it. Right.
Yep.
And so then, you know, getting those repeat, and it is not cheap either.
No, not at all.
Protein in general isn't cheap, but then you add on like
all of
that. And it's like, it's insane. So anyway, we've been burned. All that to say, we've been burned. We've been burned by leggings. We've been burned by shakes. We've been burned by hair products, you know.
Well, and I think that there's a bit of like predatory language that is involved in things like that, where they do say like, no, you own your own business. You get to be your own boss, which like, yes-ish.
Yeah.
But if that program or if that company decides they want to shut down or they want to go direct to consumer, and this has happened.
Like that happened with Beachbody this year, right?
Yeah.
They got rid of all of their affiliate market, all of that stuff.
It's gone.
Overnight.
Like people who, you know, were promised royalties for the rest of their life that they could hand down to their children and just all gone.
It's all gone. Yeah. That's why, like, whenever I, you know, market pretty focused and I talk to people, I always hesitate using the words like working from home, like building a photography business at home, or like, you know, you can work. Like I hate using that language. I mean, it's true and it's accurate. It's like true. You can work as much or as little as you want. There is some flexibility there, but I'm like, I hate that I have to compete with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, totally. I don't like that. There's been so much predatory behavior and, you know, women investing in things, and it just like people pulling the rug out from underneath them, and the multi-level marketing. Like there are some ways to make money working from home, you know, for sure. For me, like it wasn't just shakes, but like I tried to test websites too. And I was like, oh, I can do this. And I remember we didn't have very much money, and I went to Walmart and I needed a headset, like with the microphone. And so I went and bought one of those with the few dollars we had left. And I was like, I'm going to test websites. If I test, like I get paid $15 a website. And if I test, you know, 10 a day, that's $150 a day. And so I was like, I can do this. Like that would be great. Well, I get in and it's like, you're capped at like 2.
Yeah.
You know? And so there was not just like the sketchy MLM stuff, but there was just other things where it was like, I felt like I'd get my hopes up.
I tried to fill out surveys and I'd be like, oh, cool. I made $1.
Yeah. How do I become a secret shopper? Like I even remember like looking that up, like on Pinterest, like how do I become a secret shopper? Like I looked up all of these ways. Did you like look up ways to like make money from home?
Totally. And it got to the point where I was like, the big sacrifice typically was time, and time that I was not in control of.
Yeah.
So like, I laugh now because I'm sitting at my daughter's awards assembly. It's the end of the year. They're handing out awards. I get an email from the school, like, your daughter's getting an award. It's confidential until the day of. And the assembly's at 9:30 in the morning. And I was there. Wow. I got to be there. And there's something special about those memories that you get to keep. And it makes me so emotional, because back when I was working in the gym, like face to face with clients, or even at the consulting company, I had to ask somebody, can I go to this? Am I allowed to show up for, and there were times when it would be, no, somebody else already has the day off. And, the answer is no. When
showing up for your family and your kids is reliant on other people,
it's a no for me.
It's going to be a no, hard pass.
Mm-hmm. And I feel so privileged. That is an absolute privilege, to be able to say, I'm going to take the morning off.
Yeah.
And now I can do that.
Yeah. Now it's normal.
Mm-hmm.
It is normal for you.
Yep.
What you used to be a rarity, right, has now become just normal.
Yep. And it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Like, my little girl she's almost 12. So I still see her as like 3, but
100%. Yes.
She is going to be 12. And it's like, it's totally normal for her to see me on campus at school because I'm volunteering to help clean out a shed, or volunteering with the parent-teacher fellowship.
Yep.
Like getting together with the principal to go over like business and marketing to see if there's a way to get the school into the community more. I totally
love that you can use those skills.
Yeah, it's great.
That is incredible. And now she gets to see that. And too, like 12 years old, like I have, when my son, cause my boys are 11 and 12. So I'm right there with you. And whenever my oldest turned 9, I had a mentor tell me, he's like, he was a kids pastor for them for so long, but he was like, listen, I know we talk about how you have until 18. He goes, but really you need to be aware of, it's really around 14, 15, because 15, they get their permit and they want to go spend time with friends. And he was like, we were not really prepared for that. We were thinking ahead to 18. And so I was so thankful that he told me, like at age 9, he goes, hey, from ages 9 to like 15, be really intentional with these years. Be really, really intentional, because once they get that permit, they start getting more freedom and they start leaving like the nest. Then it starts then, not at 18.
Right.
And I was like, whoa.
It's that moment where you're like, oh, mind blown. Like, you're so right. I don't know how I never thought of that. But.
Yeah. I was like, thank you. Like, he just always is like, at every like milestone, he's like, hey, be aware of this. Hey, be aware of this. And I'm like, thank you.
It's so good to have somebody that's a few steps in front of you.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
It's like,
for sure. Yeah. So, so you're able to be with your daughter, and now you're able to raise, and you have a son.
I do. I have a son also. My kids are 10 years apart. I don't know what we were thinking.
But now, like, you get to be there for the whole thing.
The whole thing. It's incredible. Like, I mean, my son's napping right now.
Yeah.
And I'm downstairs. Like, before we hopped on this call, I was like writing a recipe for another photographer so that so she can basically just photograph it like a recreation. And then it just speeds up the process. Like if it is something that's taking you hours, I had one photographer tell me, like, I sit down and I will write a recipe for like 4 hours, and then I have to test it, and then it's wrong, and then I don't know how to fix it. And it is so hard. And like,
and for you, it's easier, right? Like that is,
I'll sit down and, I'm looking around, I'm looking at Pinterest, I'm looking at it, especially if it's something that I don't make often. And
you're researching the recipe, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And I can get the written document out in like an hour. Just, it comes down to that.
Are you testing it too? You write it and then you test it?
I write it and then I test it. I write, but like I write the whole thing. And then if there are tweaks after I test it the first time, then I go and I fix all of those things. And I have like a little printout of the recipe that I just have all of these chicken scratch notes on, like too sweet, maybe brown sugar instead, or like, things like that. And then I'll go do it again, because I've totally had it happen where I was like, this was so good. All right, I'll try it one more time. And it's like, what happened?
I hate that. I hate it when that happens. So you're part of recipe development. And this is something that we don't like openly advertise like as much as our photography course, but you have probably piqued people's curiosity about our recipe development course. So what is the difference between the two?
Okay, so recipe development really goes into exactly that. You are developing flavors, you're figuring out what goes well with what, whether that be a sweet recipe or a savory recipe, and then learning exactly how to create a recipe document and then test that recipe to make sure that it's not only it tastes good, but that it's easy to, it's repeatable, because you're looking at a blog, and like, how many times have you gone to a blog and then been like, well, that didn't come out like the picture?
Yeah, a lot.
So, right. So the course really takes you through, and what I loved is that it just like, the coaches are so great. They literally will take you by the hand and be like, this is your ingredient section. This is how you're setting this up. And this is why.
Yeah.
Like the why is so important, because otherwise, like, who likes to just follow rules for the fun of it?
Right. Helps you understand the bigger picture.
Yeah. And how it's going to be used on the blog, and how a photographer is going to take photos of it. And so really just getting that wide view is really nice. And then, you're going down to the next section, and how to test a recipe, and how to correct a recipe. Sometimes you get a recipe that's like, this was funky. Like, can you just help me fix it? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what you're talking about is, you are just working, our recipe development course helps people set up to be just developers. And so you are a developer for photographers or bloggers, like whoever needs
I've done both.
The developing of the recipe. So your clients are photographers, your clients are bloggers. And so, but after you graduated that course, like you kind of had developed some clients from that, right? Already.
Yeah. So I graduated the recipe development course, and then you put together a portfolio of your work, just like you do on the photography side. And you get to be in the buyer's club, and which was the selling moment for me. Like, I don't have to look. I know how hard it is to find clients in multiple industries. And once I saw that there was a buyer's club, I was like, count me in. That is a huge huge piece that's like, that buys so much of your time back.
So
not
much.
having to search, because somebody has already done the legwork and pre-qualified the people that are going to be like, you're getting a pool of hot leads that you just get to swim in freely. And
exactly.
Great.
Yes. It's a pool of warm leads that you get to swim in. It's a hot tub.
It is.
Hot tub, baby.
Great. It's so great. All the fun happens in the Buyers Club. So, I started and I submitted my portfolio for sale for recipe development, and then immediately I immediately sold it. It was sold in 2 days, and I was just like, whoa, this is so great. And then I looked at my husband and I was like, I want more. Wow. I was like, now I have enough money where I can buy the photography course.
Wow.
And so I was like, that's my next step.
And now you've graduated that.
Yep. So that was, I actually didn't have a lot of people in the photography course will develop their recipes and shoot them and have those ready to go to sell their portfolio. But the recipes that were in my portfolio were already sold before I even put it out, because I already had the recipe development side. Sure. And so I would just ask, like, if somebody was like, hey, I'd be like, hey, do you mind if I put this in my photography portfolio? And everyone was like, yeah, go for it. Sure.
Okay.
And so that was it. Like it had been sold before it even got there. So
because of the development side of things. Yeah.
So I had consistent income.
Yeah.
And then it just went up from there.
Yeah. So now you're developing for other people, but you're also developing your own recipes
for myself,
for yourself.
Right.
So how is that part going?
There's a lot of spreadsheets involved. Total type A.
Yes.
Just coming from a place where I had to be accountable and show my work to other people. I knew that I wanted to keep organized, and I knew that I didn't want to. I also have ADHD. And so I really need a clear game plan, or else it's just not going to get done. And I had to be really realistic with myself about how that was going to happen and what capacity I had. Yeah. Like, I don't want to be taking pictures at 10 o'clock at night.
Nor should you. Do not recommend 0 out of 10.
The creativity goes like fully down the drain at that point. Yeah. But so I have a list of some people that I work with are like, I don't know how many recipes, but I know that there will be between 8 and 12 for the month.
Yeah.
And so we'll go, okay, well, let's go week by week then. Other people will be like, here, I have 10 that I need for next month. And then some people are like, you can choose.
Oh, okay.
You can choose whatever you want to do. I just need 10. And then other people, I kind of like help them with like the keyword research and whatnot. And there's some people who are like, oh, I don't want to be bothered with any of that. As long as it's got good numbers, then you do what you want.
Okay. Very cool. Wow,
which is fun.
That's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, between yourself and clients, I mean, that's a lot. How many are you doing a month?
A lot.
Does that feel like too much?
No, actually, because some of them I do editing for people also, where they'll actually come up with and test their own recipe. And then I'm just there to format edit, make sure all the grammar is there, and then fill in the FAQs. So that's a service that I started offering also pretty early on, just so that people could have, I mean, it's all about accessibility. So sometimes, people are still nervous to kind of jump full in, or it's taking too long. It's, the person who was like, it takes me 4 hours to write a recipe with all of that. But they can write, their own recipe quickly if it's just the directions and the ingredients. So all of the other stuff is what was taken. So we just kind of took it down to just editing. So I have that with some people. I have full testing services with some people, and then I'm writing my own. So I told myself last month that I would take it down a notch and not be so crazy. But I did have a babysitter.
Oh, good. Because I was like, you want to make sure that you're not doing so much that the work itself suffers.
Right.
Quality, or, you kind of miss
You're just trying to get it done rather than enjoying the process of it.
Yeah, for sure. But I love too that what I heard is that you picked up on needs that people had, and you created a service around it.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think that is so important as a business owner, is that you're picking up on needs that people have, like the finessing, the editing, maybe having a second pair of eyes on the recipe, helping me kind of push it over the top, or push it over the finish line. Totally. And you created a service around that.
And it's actually, it's one of my busier, a large handful of, I think last month I did 16.
Wow. Just of those. Yeah. And that's a way to diversify, your income by kind of branching out into those different services. Is you meet this need, you meet this need, you meet this need. And so I love that you are offering all of that. And that, as you get to know clients, it's like, because this is still very new, like in the grand scheme of things, this is still very new for you. And you're going to continue to get to know clients and be like, how else can I serve them? Like, what else can I do?
It was really cool being able to start in the way that I did, because I did have people that would buy like multiple recipes, be like, hey, when are you going to graduate from the I heard that you were in the photography course also, like, are you almost done with that? How much do you think you'll charge for recreations? What do you think you'll be charging for like custom exclusives? So I had people that were already asking questions before I even graduated. So I had like this additional bit of interest because they saw my work.
Yeah. I think what you did is like, it is great. It's perfect. It's so fun to see how people kind of take it and approach what they do with the tools that they're given. Like Lindsay, for example, was the very first person to sell her portfolio, I think in like 2021, maybe 22. But she was like, I need money as soon as possible. And so she worked really hard to create recipes that were well executed, that were well written, that were tested, that were photographed well. And she sold her portfolio in 45 minutes of graduating. And so I do think that, there's recreation work, but there is something to be said about coming in and learning how to do exclusives. And obviously, like, you can get help with those, by hiring a developer. And it kind of puts you in front of people, and I guess in a different light. And so then now you have people asking you about recreations. You know what I mean?
I don't do those because I just really like to have control over what I'm eating.
Which is totally fine.
I don't do, it's rare that I do soup because I don't like soup. I just like, and it's nice to be in control enough to be able to say, hey, I don't do soup, but I think I have a referral for somebody who might be a good fit for you. Would you be open to that? And it's like, hey, you do soups, or like
yes. I think that is crucial too, because sometimes people want to do things because they're afraid of maybe losing that client, or they don't want to lose that relationship, or we kind of just are tempted maybe to keep it to ourselves. But what I have found, I think, in our community is that for the most part, people are really generous and like, hey, I don't do that, but I know somebody else who does. And I think that generosity always comes back, right?
Absolutely.
100%. If you are generous, I feel like you can just kind of reap what you sow.
Yeah, that's actually my word for the year. Every January 1st, I pick a word that I want to embody throughout that year.
Yeah.
I very much regret the one year that I chose growth, because boy, did I grow.
Yeah.
But it was a hard grow. Like,
yeah,
growing has pains. And
yes,
so
it does. Yes, it does.
It was a rough one that year. But this year, my word was generosity.
Wow.
And my husband was like, what do you mean? Like, you're going to just like give all our money away? I was like, no, not at all. Like, you can be generous in so many different ways. You can be generous with your time, with your energy, with you can be generous with a smile to a stranger on the street.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many ways to embody generosity. And, that's one. Like, hey, I really don't want to do that. I found when I was like, I've got to go make this stupid soup. Like, I was like, okay, I hate soup, so why am I doing this? It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
okay.
I love that generosity. That's such a good word. That's such a good word to have right in front of you. I have 3 words this year sitting right here, right in front of me, my words of the year. So it's so like, I love that. I love that you're embodying that. And it's not just financial, because we often think financial is the first way that we're generous. And I do think it's good to be charitable to other people. And I give of my time a lot, because I feel like I can give, might not be able to like physically give financially, but I know I can give my time. And sometimes I can give more of my time than what I can, financially. Right. And so,
and sometimes it's more impactful.
For sure. And like, now you have all these recipes and all this food.
Yeah. I had a lot of work last summer that I was like, it was almost too much. And I was like, what do I do with all of this? Like, we cannot eat it. The freezer's full. It's just too much. And I jumped on my local Facebook group, and there was a mom that was like, it was so sad. Try not to get emotional about it, but she was like, does anybody have any leftovers that they wouldn't mind parting with? I have kids, and we are living in between places right now. And we spent last night in the car, and I just want to give my kids food. And the speed at which I opened my fridge and said, come and get this, because this is the work that I do. And if you ever need anything, my fridge is always open to you. And I saw her come for weeks and weeks. And it was such a blessing to be able to give in that way. Like, memories are made around the dinner table, and to be able to contribute to her dinner table for her kids, and then look back at my kids and see how fortunate they are, was really magical to be able to provide in that way.
Wow. And so it wasn't just a one-time thing. She came back?
She came back over and over again. And it got to the point where I would message her like, hey, I have 4 recipes. These are what they are. Do you think your kids would like any of these? And she never told me no.
Wow.
And then she got back up on her feet, and she said, thanks so much. Like, you made a big difference. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. And like just the way that this can spider web out and the ripple effect that it has had, like what is available to anybody that wants to come and get it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, you can be a pillar in your community. You can be present for your kids. You can be financially able to do things that you never thought that you could. And
And that's what, like, whenever I hear that question, is Pretty Focused legit? Or, is this real? Because it seems too good to be true. I'm like, I can't.
I mean, sometimes I have to pinch myself.
There's no words, because I feel like there's so many stories like this that I don't even know about, because I know we have a lot of food.
There's so much food. Like, we can't eat all of this.
We can't eat all of it.
I am not eating, 3 dozen cookies. I might need them to make it look right, but we are not eating 3 dozen cookies.
Yeah.
I mean, the ladies in the office at school, I'll be like, hey, brought cookies.
Yeah. But I have to say, that's probably one of the most, I think, impactful stories of like using how you've used just like the leftovers. Do you know what I mean? Because people always wonder, well, what do you do with all the food? So I'm like, or what do you do with food that I can't eat? I'm like, there's somebody out there who can eat it.
There's somebody out there that will eat it, and it will feel like it changed their life to eat that food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that too. It's not just food. Like I don't know. Food is so special. Like, it brings people together.
It does.
And I'm so happy to hear that she's back on her feet, but how cool that she like visited you over and over again. Wow.
Yeah. For probably like 6 weeks.
Wow.
I would say, hey, I've got, this chicken or that, because I'm developing for myself, and then I'm developing for other people and testing, and, I'm not gonna eat that every single day, multiple days in a row. Like, it's just gonna go bad eventually. So exactly. She helped me, and I was able to help her. And
were you ever like, hey, let me know how this tastes? Feedback.
She would give feedback, which was awesome. She'd be like, my kids put that in their lunchbox, or I sent them to school with it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So many great stories, Brittany.
Yeah, just it's been such a life-changing thing for me to be able to do this, to go from stressed out and working 10 hours a day to make the same amount that I made in my previous job, working maybe 25 to 30 hours, being able to show up, being able to be present, being able to, instead of looking at summer camps this summer, I bought Disneyland tickets, or rather, annual passes, because we live so close. And that's just part of our plan now. We're going to be at Disneyland all summer.
That is incredible. That's incredible. To go from that to go to working 10 hours, burnt out, not doing something that you love anymore. Like, your heart's at home. Yeah, you were working from home, but you're tied to the computer, right? And calls and the meetings and everything. And then to go from making more, you said making more than you did?
Oh yeah, I make way more now.
You make way more. That's insane. You have flexibility, and you have the ability to be generous. Like, you're working from home, you're working less, you have flexibility to be there for your kids and to do all the school things as you should be, as is your right as a mother, to not have to ask other people permission to be there for your kids. And you have the bandwidth for generosity. He's like, you're working so hard over here in the, 9 to 5 or, 9 to 7.
Yeah.
And you still don't have the bandwidth or capacity for generosity.
Yeah. I was so burnt out before. I was exhausted. There was nothing. I couldn't be generous and like kind to my husband. I was snappy. I was just, I was done. I was just so exhausted from being, and it was a job that was really not good for somebody who needs to focus on one thing at a time. I was bouncing around a lot and lots of different meetings, and my screen was always going off. And so I feel so able to be present, not only for my own family, but for my community as well. I mean, the Pretty Focused community is nuts. It's off the charts. It's like, I remember the first time I like made a post and I was like, oh my gosh, like 15 people commented on this and said, good job. And like, congratulations on your first post. Or I was like, whoa, these people are really nice.
They are. Well, like it's such a great community. One time, one of our grads or students, Lenore, when she first learned about Pretty Focused, she thought that she goes, there's no way there's that many nice people. Like, cause I think Redonda and Lauren were coaches, and she thought that I created fake accounts and it was me as Redonda and Lauren. I was like, why would I ever do that? But she was like, I literally thought there's no way that there's this many nice people. This is all the same person pretending to be all these other people. I'm like, no, we're all real people.
It was so funny where I was like, wow, like, I don't think California is known for its like especially kind people. And I certainly was like, oh my gosh, like this must be so popular in like the South or the Midwest, like where everyone's just really, really nice. Come to find out, all over, like global.
We have just found all the really nice people all over the world.
It's really incredible.
And put them all in one group.
Right? Like I never thought that I would get that many people being like, great job. This is so much better than, your last one. And like, I see you're improving. And it's such a great group of people.
I love it. And
it's like a sisterhood and a few great brothers, but
yeah. And your work, cause you had an old camera that was dusty. You said like it was collecting dust.
It was just like in the corner.
What did you do? Because your work is stunning. It is stunning.
I literally had never picked up a camera at this capacity. I mean, I knew how to turn it on.
Great.
And I did know, I had the camera from when I had my meal prep business, and I would take a picture of the meal and I would literally just turn the dial. It had like a food mode on it.
Oh, okay.
And stick it in the sun and just click. And then that was it. That was the extent of my knowledge. Food mode.
Wow. Food mode, direct sunlight.
Yep.
And now you're like,
back some of those photos, and I was like, oh, that's rough. I can't believe anybody bought anything from me. Like, this doesn't look good at all.
That is crazy. And now would you ever open that meal prep business again?
Absolutely not.
No. Okay.
Absolutely not. I was so, another thing, like the marketing took so much time. So, and sales and marketing is what I've done for a really long time. It's my bread and butter. I love it. But like being a one-woman show, you cannot be the salesperson, the marketing department, the like person who is actually making the food and then hauling. I would haul all this stuff to a commercial kitchen and then have to package it. I was the product designer. I had these like little plastic things that now you get at like takeout restaurants. and I would just slap a sticker on top of it with my company name. And that was it. That was my packaging.
Yeah. It's a lot.
It was so much. And then I was delivering it to everyone also. So I would drive sometimes for like 3 hours just delivering.
Oh my gosh. And you're probably not getting paid very well. Like the profit on something like that is probably a very small profit margin, I would think.
But by the time that you are looking at like all the money you spent on food, all the money you spent on gas to deliver all of this, all of the packaging, the bags, the overhead's just so high, even when it was just me. So it kind of got to the point where I was like, well, I can keep burning myself out, or I can be done and I can just close up shop.
Wow.
And I literally put a thing on my Instagram, because that was where most of my clients were coming from Instagram. And it was a stock photo of like a fajita wrap. And I wrote, "That's a wrap." And
I'm done.
Said like, "I'm done. Like, thanks so much for everyone who supported me over these last few years. I'm turning this to focus on efforts towards my family."
Yeah. Yeah. Just completely understandable. Well, Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing stories, and just like these interviews always just like pump me up. And it was so wonderful to talk with you and just kind of hear your journey with where you've been. So I'm so excited to see what the future has for you. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here.
Good. All right, you guys, that's a wrap for this episode. I'll see you back for the next episode of the Pretty Focus podcast.